Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bible reading and reaction on my channel. So, this is the continuation of the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Today, I'm reading Genesis chapter 17 and Genesis chapter 18, and I'll be reacting as I read along. Let's go. Genesis 17. And when Abraham was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abraham and said unto him, I am the Almighty God, walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name be any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He had broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, O that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee, behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self same day, as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son, and all the men of his house born in the house, and bought with money of the stranger, were circumcised with him. Like, this is an amazing passage because it shows that God is intentionally trying to make impossible become possible. Because come to think of it, when did they say menopause starts again? 30s, 40s, but this is somebody, people in their 90s and their hundreds. And Abraham is trying to help God to say, like, this is Ishmael. Bless him now. God said, no, the covenant child is Isaac. In fact, God has already named him. Do you understand? So in case Abraham is trying to have cold shoulder, no, God has already named him, and he shall be called Isaac, and he shall be born by Sarah. And this for me is an amazing thing that God does. Like when we don't see, like when we don't see and we try to like tone it down for God, God insists. God was literally stamping his foot on the ground there, saying, no, Abraham, I insist. I will bless Ishmael. In fact, he has already been blessed. 12 princes who will multiply, will be fruitful. But see, the covenant I'm talking about is not Ishmael, it is Isaac. So let's proceed. Genesis 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, that's Abraham, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servants. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened unto the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the hearth, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. That Sarah had stopped menstruating. This is even more miraculous. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? Like, I'm old, am I even going to enjoy this? I guess that's what she was asking for, pretty much like, can you pass me by on this? Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I think this is the main point that God is trying to draw in this story of Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac, is that nothing is hard for him. If he says this is going to happen, that is really going to happen. So let's continue. Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. 16. And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way, like he went to see them off. And the Lord said, like these are angels, like the Lord in form of men, pretty much. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? Or, for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him. I think this is cute. Like, God is bragging about Abraham, and I find it very amazing. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is common to me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. Abraham, no wonder God likes him. He's such an astute person. Like there are no airs around him. Like what you see is really what you get. Like this is the same energy with which he received the gifts, the same energy with which he's trying to resist the destruction of Sodom. So let's go. And Abraham drew near and said, will thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? At this point, he's thinking about Lot, his brother, his nephew. Peradventure, there be 50 righteous within the city. Will thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Trying to make his case before God. And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, oh, let not thy Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall be 30 found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but for this one. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communion with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. This is an interesting conversation, because this is Abraham like having a conversation with God, saying, please. He's trying to make a case for Lot, as we would see, like, eventually. But, like, there couldn't be 10 righteous people in a place. That's so sad. But that's, by the way, we'll still get to meet it. But what I liked here is that Abraham recognized God in the form of men, and he welcomed them. There's a place in Hebrew that said, like, be alert or something, because you might welcome angels unknowingly, right? They were men, but they were angels. Like, have you ever experienced some humans that you're sure that, especially when you don't know them, you're sure that this is not a human being that just ministered unto me, it's an angel in human form, right? So this was the experience, but they had not done anything to Abraham. They were just passing, and Abraham recognized them and told them to come. He hosted them, he gave them a feast, and when he was seeing them forth, he had this, he overheard them going to Sodom to destroy the plains, the people of the plains. And then he stood by God's way and said, no, God, please. But then he heard it, because as we read, God said he won't hide anything from Abraham. Like, he trusts Abraham to do good by the earth, by his family. So why would he hide this thing from Abraham? Abraham heard, and he stopped God, and he was having this conversation. Please don't do this. What if 50? What if 45? What if 40? What if, and came down to 10 until departed ways. And for me, this is amazing. It shows what our relationship with God should be. It's like something that should be pure, without any errors around us. We should first be willing to recognize God when he's passing by, whether true. Of course, God will not walk the earth as a spirit, because if he walks as a spirit, we won't see him with our physical eyes. We can only receive him with our spirits when we are connected with the Holy Spirit, and that is already done. But sometimes he walks through the earth, through men and women, children, through human beings, and we should be alert to recognize that. 1. 2, we should be ready to be hospitable to people that come to us. Like Abraham went all the way, called Sarah, cook up something. He went and he also dressed something and brought, so it was a feast. Like, he gave his best, if you know what I mean. And then eventually, when people are relaxed, they can just like tell you some stuff, and that's really what happened. And Abraham came up and he was interceding for Lot and Sodom, right? Pretty much. And even though he wasn't successful, at least he tried. And that is good for me to know that intercede for your people, right? You might not be successful. I mean, they might still not meet up, but as we'll see later, God understood that it was for Lot, and he saved Lot and Lot's family, right? But he should destroy Sodom, because as we read, they wickedness have gone up to ears. So that's really what this is about, right? So thank you. We continue next time with Genesis chapter 19 and 20. Until then, bye.